Good morning all. So, right, what we've got today is just a cheeky little, well, I'd say more a repair video, so sort of maintenance. Basically, because we spend so much of our time outside trying to work on the land, building, doing our vegetable patch and all the other things such as chicken coops, which is finally done. We 3 years ago, we got ourselves a little Robo Hoover, an Eufy 11s. My wife, when we first got it, thought, what are you doing? What is this? What silliness is this he's wasting money on? But honestly, ever since we've had the little fella, wouldn't be without it. It's great. It saves so much time. Yeah, sure, you got to make sure he doesn't eat cables and all of those sort of things. But honestly, it just saves us. It gives us the ability to be outside more instead of wasting time cleaning the floor and stuff. So with that in mind, this is just a little repair video because his main, what is it called? The main brush motor is absolutely knackered. I've taken it apart a couple of times and placed oil in it to try and keep it going. You know, proper machine oil, but the motor is just completely gone. So one of the things that is great about this is it's fairly easy to get hold of the parts. So while the particular piece, like the main brush motor, I think it cost 45 quid including shipping, which is not too bad when like the entire machine is probably, I don't know, what are they, about 130 at the moment, at the time of recording this anyway. I think they're about 130 quid. When you think that's one of the two main motors that actually keeps it running, it's not so bad really. And it's certainly better than just junking it all and buying a brand new one, because we really genuinely try to recycle what we've got, or at least keep it running for as long as possible. So anyway, with that in mind, this video is just a very quick, I'm going to try and make it so it's instructional. So if you ever have the same problem or you found this video because you want to repair yours, that's what this is going to be for. So anyway, let's do that. First things first, remove the rear brush, the front brushes. What I've tried to do is I've put the locations of all the screws in the top right hand corner. So if you don't know where they are, or you need to pause it for a second just to double check where they are, then that's what that picture's for. The next thing that we're doing here is we're removing the front bumper. What you want to try and do when you're taking this apart is some of the screws, especially the front bumper ones, and when we later get to, there's there's 6 screws that are slightly different sizes. So what I would suggest you do is, as you take them apart, keep them grouped, and then you shouldn't run into trouble when you come to put them back together, because some are actually longer. Okay, so we pulled the battery out. We're now moved on to the main large screws, basically hold the top and the bottom of the body together, which allows us to get access to the rest of the machine. Here you go. These are the two little, a set of the two little screws I was talking about that are actually slightly different. As you'll see, I arrange all the screws, so hopefully I don't get them mixed up when I put it all back together. This part, all you've got to be careful here is that you don't pull it away too quickly, because there's 2 cables, one that holds the main circuit board on, it's like the button that sits on top, and then the front bumper itself. Once you've done that, you just move those 2 bits out of the way. We'll come back to those. We don't need those until we reassemble. Always good at this point to just check for big lumps of dust, especially if you've got animals and stuff. It's a good idea to just pull those out. We've got 3 little cables here that are connected to the board that we need to get out of the way so that we can access the main fan unit and get that out of the way, because that's in our way too. We only have 3 screws that hold the main circuit board on. I would suggest removing all 3 of them, but don't worry about unplugging everything else. because you can actually just push the circuit board to the side and allow you access to the screw that holds the fan in. Hopefully that should just lift out for you. And don't do what I try and do here, which is pull this end of the cable out. You want to take it directly from the board because it's just so much quicker. So this is the piece that we're actually removing. Yet again, this is another set of screws that are slightly different sizes, so I would suggest making sure they are kept separate. This is the main brush motor unit. When you purchase it from or online, at least when I purchased it, because I had to buy it directly from Eufy themselves, it comes as a complete unit. You can't actually just buy the motor itself, which, believe it or not, you can actually completely take apart. Obviously that's how I oiled it, as I mentioned at the beginning. Okay, so now with the new component, we're basically just going to do everything in reverse. So start off with your screws. As you can see from this top down, if you look in the little screw box, I've sort of separated them into little piles just to make life easier. Once they're all sorted, start reconnecting some of the cables. You don't have to do it in the same order as I do, but this is just the way that worked for me. I found it the easiest and caused the least problems. Putting the main engine back in, obviously runs the suction and fan. Once you put those two screws in, as before, what you want to do is just push the circuit board out of the way. Once I've got this one in, a couple of cables, move those out of the way. And there we go, done the same with the board again. Just makes your life a lot easier. Replace the 3 silver screws that hold the circuit board on. Reconnect the main motor. Then it's a tiny bit of cable management. You might find that these fight you a little bit to go back in because the unit is brand new, and I found some of the tolerances on where the cable goes to be a bit tight. Obviously it's because it's brand new, it's not the same as the other one. They haven't worn in, so you might have to play around with them as I did here with the screwdriver and such. Then once you've run them all correctly, you can then just start plugging them back in. Still another cable fighting me a bit there. Go on, go on. Happy days. Obviously when you're putting these in, don't force any of these connectors. Make sure they are around the right way. Luckily they only go in one way, but best to double check instead of snapping a pin or doing any damage where you'd have to buy something else. Now for this bit, there's only one real thing. Once you've got this cable that connects to the board, when you push the two pieces together, what you want to do is make sure that you don't trap the cable that goes to the front bumper. It's nice and easy. It should slip in. If it gets stuck at all, just do exactly what I do here, which is double check that it actually goes in between the gaps, so there's nothing wrong there. Two screws that go into the base of where the main brush goes. Now you don't have to do this, and it depends on your version of the 11s, because the newer versions have a slightly different front wheel, which doesn't get as clogged as this one. Obviously with pets and any types of dirt and hair, it just gets stuck in there. So while it was here, I thought, why not, let's just give it a clean. Now we're on to the bit after you've plugged this cable in, which is nice and easy. You're now down to the bit that can be a bit of fun and games. This is trying to align the front bumper. You need to be very careful. There's two metal prongs on the front that do get stuck quite often. You'll notice here that I use a very thin small screwdriver to get them in place. And then once that's done, just go back to putting the original set of screws in that hold the front bumper. I think there's 8 in total. Once they're all in, just pick it up, make sure everywhere moves freely. It's all too easy for it to get caught. And obviously if that does happen, then it's unable to detect that it hits into things. Okay, so we're getting there. We're down to the last set of main screws. I think there's only 2 more after this set, because this is holding the main body back together. And yes, indeed, 2 left after you've replaced the battery. All you want to do now is replace all of the bits you took off at the very start, all your replacement bits. So main brush, the guard that holds the brush on as well, little waste collector on the back, 2 front brushes, and that should be you done. And hopefully, like me, your little box is empty. Nothing left over. Top job.